the original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand-in-hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary disputes, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian Law and Policy Practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy skies overnight with a low of 8 above, then snow expected on Friday with a high of 11. Then 2021 on its way with a fantastic dinner at one of our Eat Local Minnesota restaurants, featuring cuisines from close to home and from around the world. See the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahare, which means distant thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss local, national, and Native news and events. And as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Alliant Energy, powering beyond.
Well, it's going to be a cold New Year's Eve here in the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so you buckle down. There'll be a 15 below wind chill, and it'll be a high of 0. So don't go out.
I'm not going anywhere. I don't plan it.
I'm going to swing by and go to the sober powwow at the Indian Center for a couple hours to stop in and say who. Also, it's New Year's, and we're finishing up our 4th year of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're really humbled, pleased by all the support we've gotten over these years, whether it's the guests, whether it's our sponsors, but especially the listeners, Wendy.
And our Patreon people, too.
That's right.
It's the most important.
And they're our sponsors, too. So, but the listeners make the show what it is. And when we run around town or across Turtle Island, anywhere where we run into people that listen to our show. It warms my heart because you work every day, but I'm just a conduit of all the. You and Ogama work every day, but I'm just a conduit of all these great guests that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Ogama, let's get with Ogama with the news that you don't hear anywhere else. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, Annie Bonjour, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganukwe. I'm an enrolled member of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota. Am I still picking up an echo over there, Robert?
No, you're good.
All right. So it's the end of the year, and I'll be honest, it's kind of a slow-moving time of year for news this year. So I wanted to take the time to do something that I haven't really taken the time to do. So this is my short list of shout-outs and thank yous I want to give for the year 2021, and partially for 2020 as well. I've been with Native Roots Radio now, Robert, what, a year and a half, 2 years of the 4?
I think it's at least 2 years because you
Is
were
it
doing
2? Okay.
stories. I think.
All right. Well, my first shout out is to you and Wendy for letting me have the coolest job ever, and your ongoing support and caring for me and my family as we're all been moving through the insanity that is the world right now. I could not repay the kindness and respect that you two have both shown me, and having allowed me to grow into this space with you has been truly an honor, and I'm really, really grateful to be able to do this work with you. It is beautiful, and I love you both so much, and I appreciate you to the very bottom of my heart. So,
Wendy
going
is
into
crying. We
Huh?
couldn't. Wendy is crying, and we couldn't do the show. And all the things that we do, including the store,
Including
without you.
everything without you. So we appreciate you so much, and we love you, Jace and Anna, and the baby to come.
Yes, the baby
With
to come.
Poppy.
She doesn't have a name just yet, but if anybody wants to throw some ideas in the comments, we're at this point, we're open to that too.
Poppy's a girl's name.
Whatever.
Yes, yes. I also want to take a minute to thank all of the water protectors in Minnesota and beyond, especially Nancy Bolio, Joe and Kaylee, Kate and Sam, Dio Kramer for her beautiful artwork, Andy, Akila, and Emma, and all of the rest of the team, past, present, and future at MN350 for their support. Of the water protectors and their ongoing work for climate justice here in Minnesota. I'd like to thank Don Goodwin, Marty Kobanese, and Thomas X for your constant inspiration, soul fire, and knowledge and support. All 1,000 plus water protectors in Minnesota who were arrested in an attempt to stop the Line 3 pipeline, including Tasha Martineau and Jason Goward, who have been keeping me updated from McGeezy Will Fly, Tara Hauska and everyone at GNU Collective, Winona LeDuc and all of the team at Honor the Earth, and Winona's Hemp and Heritage Farm as well, and for the 20 plus years of work and dedication to clean water and Indigenous futures from Indigenous Environmental Network. Ron Turney, Adonis Green, Simone Senegals, Angel and Silas, Renee Kieser, and every single person who took the time to send me news stories or keep me posted with happenings this year. Thank you all. Miigwech to you so much, especially to James. I especially thank you for your time and commitment early on this year to help make sure I was staying up to date as we were going through the insanity that was the beginning of 2021. I'd like to thank the news reporters from Indians.com, Indian Country Today, Native News Online, Digital Smoke Signals, NDN Collective, and more. Any place that I've sourced this year for a story, thank you so much. Special shout out to Kevin Abarask, Marianne Pember of Indian Country Today. Kevin Abarask is with Indians.com. That's Indians with a Z. And Lorenzo Serna, who was with NDN Collective last I heard. I appreciate all of your work as well. I would like to thank every single person in Minnesota and beyond that came and stood in the face of injustice and in the spirit of community in support of the aftermath of George Floyd's murder in the Twin Cities. It was really intense, and that came with a lot of organizational help. So we have him on later today. Special shout out to Robert Lilligren and Native American Community Development Institute for all of your support following that, as well as your ongoing support as we came into 2021 and all of the things that that came with us in 2021, including, keeping us up to date on the politics of all of that. I appreciate that. Shout out to Dr. Stately from Native American Community Clinic and Bob Blake from Red Lake, who is with Solar Bear and Native Sun Community Development, for coming on to our show every single week, as well as the ongoing work of our Native politicians. And I know I'm going to miss some, but definitely Mary Kunish, who's on every Friday, who will miss this week because we're off tomorrow, right? Ruth Buffalo, Heather Keeler, Audrey Thayer, and Dan Jourdain. And I know I'm missing some more. Robert, who else am I missing?
Geez, what's our auntie's name up there? That one with shoot, we had her T-shirt. Audrey Thayer.
Yeah.
Oh, you already said Audrey
Yeah.
Thayer. I'm sorry.
She did.
Nope, I know I haven't mentioned all of those Native candidates that ran in Minnesota, but we appreciate you for continuing to do your best to bring equity into the U.S. governmental system. And I'm really looking forward to, in this next year, as we come into another election cycle, working with all of you and hopefully the new round of Native American people who are running for office that you have inspired. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to take a minute to mention Rise Coalition. Rise Coalition has done some really great work surrounding Line 3, and I know they're going to be doing good work going forward for bringing back Native ways. Makoche, Ikikchupi, and Lower Failing Creek Project and the Warrior Women Project for being out there and just doing the good work of bringing light to these ongoing issues and building these projects in our communities. Your work and dedication is just unbelievable, and I'm always so impressed by all of you. And I know there's probably a couple more organizations we worked with this year. Robert, am I missing any?
Well, I just want to. It's awesome here. I just got to use the applause button because I love the applause button. You said Nancy, right? Nancy Bolio.
I said Nancy, yes, and we'll say Nancy again because we love Nancy. Yeah. Also, they're trying to raise some money for the end of the year, so make sure you go over to mn350.org if you can and donate a little bit of money to Nancy and them. Last but not least, with the time that I have, I want to make sure to thank all of the stations that air Native Roots Radio, especially our mothership at AM 950. Thank you, Brett and Patrick and Dan and Chad and everyone else behind the scenes for keeping us on air. And special shout out to Matt McNeil for always being supportive with me and mentioning Native Roots Radio on your show. We appreciate that too. So.
Yeah, we really do. I want to get a special shout out to Clyde Belcourt, our uncle who's getting up there in years. Hey, thanks, Ogama. We'll be right back with Robert Lilligren. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us. Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, Matt McNeil here. The last year and a half has been tough, so thanks to everyone who became a member of AM 950. You've helped keep progressive radio in Minnesota. Last year, as a thank you, we put out a calendar, and my goodness, was that popular. Well, we've done it again. The AM 950 calendars are back for 2022. This year's calendar has more of my photos taken in the great city, county, and state parks of Minnesota, plus important dates in both progressive and AM 950 history. All new or current members who make recurring donations of at least $25 will be thanked with a calendar, or with a one-time $50 donation, we'll gift you a calendar as a thank you. In addition, if you make a donation, either a one-time or recurring, you can write a 1 to 2 sentence personal message that will be read on the air by myself, Matt McNeil, over the holidays. It's really simple to become a member of AM 950. Go to our webpage, am950radio.com, click on the membership button, and sign up. Make a recurring donation of at least $25 or a one-time donation of $50, and we'll send you the gift of a 2022 AM 950 calendar. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
I'm still a little teary-eyed after Ogama's shout out to us in the beginning of the show, so we really appreciate you. And also, we haven't heard from Robert Lilligren in a few weeks, but we're really appreciative to regulars like Robert. Welcome, Robert Lilligren. And Robert, you let me just I forget what your title is, so I got to look real here. You CEO of the Native American Community Development Institute. So
Correct.
Good memory, but it's short. So keep coming every week. Darn it.
I love it. I love to be back. So it's so nice to see you all, Robert, Wendy, Ogama. Good to be back. It's been almost a month, I think, or no, maybe 3 weeks, because between my schedule, your schedule, and the holidays.
Yeah.
And then, Robert, I'll tell you with that title thing, I sometimes joke I have 17 titles. So you kind of just pull one out of a hat and see if it fits.
They're like Lucky Rosenblum, who that character is here, St. Paul. He's got if you get a business card from him, he's got 50 things on there. What does this guy do? He's got a million things. But yeah, you literally are. That's part of the thing that why Wendy and I chased you down to be on the show, because you are well connected in the Twin Cities and nationally, and we found out with the year prior. So I don't know, you must have been on our show at least 2 years now, because you were on Saturdays every Saturday too for a long time, and we chatted because it was pre-recorded, and how many similarities because of our age we had, and we went to Brown Institute. And I talked about your great late father that we used to listen to. I would listen to with my father early in the morning with the Farm Report on WCCO.
Yeah. We do have a lot of parallels in our lives. I think I'm a little older, 1 year older, but we have very similar upbringings. And I liked those Saturday shows. That was kind of fun. I liked the conversations we had before and after the taping, probably as much as anything, reminiscing.
Yeah. And also, I think one of the themes that in that conversation that we brought to the show is how proud we are of the youth compared to what we as 60-year-olds went through. And I mean, I love that story you've told a couple times where there's a big celebration in 1978 because of the Religious Act or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You saw these kids that you didn't know were Native that you were.
Yeah. We'd gone to school for 12 years together, and none of us knew the other was Native. We're like, you're Indian? And so, with me, sometimes it's not so easy to tell, but with a lot of these folks, they looked like schnobs. But they just, no one had self-identified as Native, because there was no benefit to it, right? There was more risk to it. So it's a different day today when I look at young people like Ogama here, and just what solid ground they are on is, as far as their Native identities go, it's a different thing.
Well, with our store, Native Roots Trading Post, I got a plug in there. We have Misko, who's 20 years old, a former student of mine, and Nolan and her cousin. And then I have another former student, Laurel, working there, who's still in high school. And I get all these comments on how respectful they are and how much they know their culture. And because a lot of our allies go into that store and don't know what's going on, and that's just been really heartwarming to see and read.
I bet the store is great, you guys. I've been down there several times. I think it's wonderful. I am always super impressed with the people you have staffing it, and I just think they're really good at building relationships, right? There's a lot of people going into that store that have never been in native space before. And I think your folks really do a great job. And I know because we've done this with our Four Sisters a few times, sort of pop up markets with our Four Sisters Farmers Market, and staffing them is the hardest part. Staffing them, of course, keeping stock on the shelves. But you really got some winners working there, I'll say.
Yeah, and it was funny too because Wendy and I I jumped into this and Wendy's going, "What are we doing?" And then poor Olga and her husband came from up north to set up the store on the weekend, and oh my gosh. But we knew Misko was going to work. We weren't sure. My daughter was on her honeymoon. We weren't 100% sure if she was going to work. And then we kind of heard whispers about our other employees, and then they came through. So that was a stressful part about how we, especially nowadays with the workers, the lack of employees to get.
Right. So how's it going? Was it a good season? It always had people in it every time I was there.
It was so good. We're re-upping for another 3 months.
Great. Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll be there till at least June. And yeah, so it went very, very well. And I got to give a shout out to our partner, Joe Allen, too. Joe Allen up north has really helped us with artists from up there. And his group, what is the name of his group again?
I knew you were going to ask. Do you know
It's
Ogama?
Kashigan Arts Incubator.
Yeah.
Thank you. On White Earth, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he's brought artists down, arts, beatings, and just a lot of support and knowledge that I didn't have. I've never run a store. Have you, Wendy?
Never.
Ogama? No.
You guys did a great job. Well, and Joseph Allen's a good partner. We partnered with Joseph Allen through our All My Relations Arts Gallery before. He helped organize touring the Bring Her Home show, the first Bring Her Home show and stuff. He's just a great partner.
Yeah, he really is. And I only would kept on sign that another 3 months if he would still be working with us. And it's a go. And he's excited because it's really in his jam too, because his job is to promote artists. So we're helping him too in a small way.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're I don't know if we've ever talked about this, Robert, but I think we're going to make a big push about Leonard Peltier. I just reached out to their group out there that is fundraising for trying to get him out with so we're going to have free Leonard Peltier t-shirts and some of his prints from his paintings in the store, and really make a big push here on Native Roots Radio, because at the very end of the show, Wendy says free Leonard Peltier every show. So it's always in our forefront. And so we're going to really try and partner with them too.
Right. Where's the organization based, Robert? Their organization.
This one's in Texas. These guys are in Texas. And it was funny. They talked about Reservation Dogs had a free Leonard Peltier dog tag on during one of the shows, and they sold out of those like in a day.
Sure.
So be up and on those. So yeah, so they talked to him, they have contact with him, and then they have his art in print to sell, and so it's going to be a good partnership.
Good. I look forward to supporting the effort.
Yeah, definitely. And so proceeds, of course, will be going towards the free Leonard Peltier organizations that are out there. But it's a sad deal, and I don't know. Did you ever read the book, The Spirit of Crazy Horse? Back in the 82, I think it came out.
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, back around when it first came out.
It's amazing, Robert, that I've listened to it too, because there's I bought a CD of it off eBay or something, and for all the driving I do, and it's just really interesting how that all went down, and they're letting people out that tried to assassinate the president and killed John Lennon, and yet we still have our brother in there as the longest. What, 35 or 45? Was it 35 years? 45 years as a prisoner, as a political prisoner. Yeah.
I really thought at the end of the Obama administration, he might have been liberated, freed.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
surprised he wasn't.
and then also Clinton. I mean, I think that's when Robert Redford did that documentary, Incident in Ogalla, and there was he was on 60 Minutes in that era too. I was thinking Clinton, but they're really pressuring, and we have more natives in the helping with Biden that are giving him a little pressure on that now.
Yeah, and more allies, right? I mean,
Yes.
every day there's more and more awareness, more allies, more conversations that are changing people's hearts and minds.
Yeah, definitely. And Robert, we've been on the January. We're going into our 5 years of Native Roots Radio, and you've been a big part of it the last couple of years. And I think since Standing Rock, a lot of things have happened really positively. And when it always gets the darkest before sunrise, and I think a lot of the darkness that we've experienced as Native Americans, whether it's Standing Rock, Line 3, or even the murder of George Floyd, how that affected our community, things are changing and coming out. Do you have a time to hang with us for another segment?
Sure, I'd love to.
Awesome, perfect. Well, Wendy, it's great to have Robert on, and we always used to really, coordinate what are we going to talk about and stuff. But I think this conversation we have is really awesome, and it goes in different directions. But again, you're part of our grateful list, and I really appreciate it. We're with Robert Lilligren, and this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis, St. Paul. I couldn't be more excited about starting our days together, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
For too long, American Indian tribes have faced a competitive disadvantage when litigating against powerful forces. With its American Indian law and policy practice, Robbins Kaplan, LLP, seeks to redefine excellence for high-stakes litigation in Indian country. They have worked hand in hand with tribes to implement the Tribal Law and Order Act, fighting against diminishment of tribal lands and natural resources, and improving public safety on reservations. The Robbins Kaplan American Indian Law and Policy Practice serves tribes and individuals on commercial, government investigations, agency and tribal boundary dispute, as well as personal injury. Founded and led by former United States Attorneys Brendan Johnson and Tim Purdon, their American Indian law and policy practice exists to bring justice to tribal clients whose claims in the past have been dismissed or ignored due to their underdog status. If you or your tribe are facing legal issues, contact robinskaplan.com or call toll-free at 1-800-553-9910. If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.com. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
What's the best vehicle for driving in Minnesota? That's easy. The RAV4 from Rudy Luther Toyota. I love this vehicle. Perfect for driving around the city, but also the best vehicle for tackling the Minnesota outdoors. The RAV4 fits all your stuff, whether it's your kids' sports gear or all the supplies for a trip to the cabin or ice house. And travel in style with the RAV4's refined, versatile interior and all the latest tech, matched with the tough, stylish exterior. And now they even have a hybrid version of the RAV4. The RAV4 is pure perfection. Test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Cloudy skies overnight with a low of 8 above, then snow expected on Friday with a high of 11. Then 2021 on its way with a fantastic dinner at one of our Eat Local Minnesota restaurants, featuring cuisines from close to home and from around the world. See the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
You know, we got to give a shout out to Bobby and the cat that just did that. Would help me out here.
Spirit dog.
His real name, Dallas Goldtooth.
Yeah.
I gotta give him a shout out. They've been on the show a few times, and we're gonna get them on, and we're gonna get Sharice Davids on, and all the political people now that we're getting close to election time again. But here we're with Robert Lilligren, and you know, before we get with Robert, who's with the Native American Community Development Institute, NACDI, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sandy Whitehawk, who's recovering from some medical situation, and she was a person on Blood Memory that they did a documentary on about adoption in the 60s Scoop, and just want to give her a shout out. She's a huge person in our community, and I, as adoptee, really appreciate her and what she's forged ahead with all these years. But again, welcome, Robert Lilligren. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, Bonjour. Thanks for having me.
So it's what a year. This last year has just been crazy. We've been on 5 days a week, and you know, I was thinking too. I would listen to our 2-hour show and just go, oh my gosh, this was a great show. We'd have Winona, you, Bob Blake, all these people, different people on, Mary Kunish. And I was just thinking, who's listening to this for 2 hours? So it's been really cool that you've been able to transition with us to this daily thing and spend time with us, because it's time consuming for our guests. And you guys, Wendy, Ogama, or I should say Wendy, Ogama, and our guests make the show. And it's just great.
I do so little. Like, wait, you give me way too much credit, Bob. It's you guys, Wendy, Ogama, you, that keep this going, and what a great thing. I mean, I think it's going to 5 days a week was huge, and I think you've really risen to the challenges.
Yeah, and we're now being we have a big Native station that's playing our show in Wisconsin, and so it's hitting Michigan. And go ahead, Ogama, were you going to say something?
I was just going to tell you the station's WOJB in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, so thank you. And you know, we're hitting Chicago. We now are in starting the beginning of the year. We're going to be live in Milwaukee too. So we're in Madison, Milwaukee, the Twin Cities, Chicago, and it's not because of my skill. My skill, I think, is to mispronounce everybody's name. And, it's a heck of a skill, but been able to facilitate great guests like you. What has this last year been for you? I know.
Oh my gosh.
Downs.
it's been quite a year. It's been a year for everybody, right? And so between COVID response, remote working, and being in Minneapolis, you guys are close by. It's kind of hard to live here these days, since George Floyd was murdered, and so then we have the trial. Everything seems a little on edge all the time. And I'll tell you, one of the side things, I was just talking to my husband about this, is how much I've been engaged with Minneapolis as a city government this last year. I was a member of the Truth and Reconciliation work group. I just got kind of a little indication I'm going to be invited back to help implement some of the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations. I was part of a economic development investment work group after it was supposed to be a pandemic work group, and then when George Floyd was murdered, it just became much broader, but focusing the city's economic development. I'm currently part of the new governance work group that's helping design the new government with the strong mayor that the voters passed at the last election. And there's other
Good.
things like that. I've spent a lot of time inside. Oh, I helped train or had a panel session with the newly elected city council members as part of their training. Just, yeah, my relationship with the city as a government has been really robust this last year.
Well, and Nancy Bolio always says it. If there isn't a chair up there for us, Native people, I think she quoted somebody. She said something like, "We'll pull up a folding chair."
Right.
Join them
Yeah.
in.
The
Get active.
wise words from Nancy Bolio. One of the lessons I was taught in my early days of activism here in the Phillips area in Minneapolis was that the most important meetings to attend are the ones you're not invited to.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
good guidance for me.
Yeah, definitely. I was always told this. This is kind of a funny offhanded thing, but I was told years ago when I started teaching is always walk around with either a piece of paper in your hand, or also if you're in a meeting, and always hand out something, whether it's
Sure.
paper to everybody. So I don't know if that's just to keep the pressure off me or what, but
It makes you look like you're in charge. It makes you
that's
look
right.
like you're in charge. For me, it's a clipboard. When I see someone holding a clipboard, I think this goes back to my organizing days. But it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that person knows something. They have a clipboard.
Exactly. That's hilarious. But so we have, and congratulations. And I think you bring so much of what you're doing to our community, but also to our show. We got a big election coming up, and I hate to say they're all big, but they are. And I think the engagement that we've had as Native Americans, whether it's the census and the election into this, we have to really keep going on that.
Oh, for sure. And I just, we at NACDI, we have our Make Voting a Tradition project. It's about 8, 9 years old now, very successful. It's also covered those other areas, census, and year-round sort of engagement with policy and things. But we're part of this network now that's statewide, national. I mean, this didn't even exist 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So,
Yeah, that's a huge deal, and I think, too, our lieutenant governor gets a hard time about, the policy with line 3, and not so much, I think more of it's directed at the governor, but there's a lot of things that have happened in this government that would not have happened without her, Mary Kunesh, New Heather Keeler, Jamie Becker Finn, Miss Allen, who started this whole thing in the state. What's your thoughts on that? There's so many good things happening for us natives that never happened before.
I agree. I agree. And I think they're both caused by the great people. I think they were all women that you just listed, including Susan Allen, former state rep. And they're sort of part of the narrative shift, right? So they're both making these things happen, and they're part of this broader uh, drive through Native people to steer our own narrative, and then also to educate others. People outside the Native community just don't know that much about
Right.
Native issues, and so we've had the opportunity to educate them because of those amazing women that bravely stepped into elected office and made
Yeah.
a difference. We have a great legacy here in this state.
We got to keep rolling. People like Ogama, after her children get a little older, we got to get her to run. And it warmed my heart too that when we had Heather Keeler on a couple weeks ago, or maybe more than a couple weeks ago, she was saying that she's going to run, and that's a good thing because I've had politicians come up to me and tell me how good a job she's doing.
Right.
And it's
Yep.
just like they just know that we're connected somehow, and it's just like, wow, yeah. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to let her know.
Yeah, great. No, a great candidate. Ogama, you'd be a great candidate. Let me know when you're thinking about it. Happy to help. I love working with especially first-time candidates, especially women, just to get more equitable representation in elected office. And I look back and there's just a lot of folks that I worked with. Susan Allen was one of them. Peggy Flanagan in her first election as a Minneapolis school board member was another. She's not native, but our soon to be Minneapolis City Council president, Andrea Jenkins, current vice president. I helped her. She worked with me in City Hall and worked with her. I just love helping folks because I'll tell you what, when I first ran for office, I was sort of challenging the system, challenging the party and things like that, and nobody would help me. Everyone was too concerned with preserving the status quo, I guess. So I made a determination back then. I'll talk to anyone who asks me, even if I don't ultimately support them. But what good is it if I just keep it to myself, right? You got to share what you know.
Right. You got to give away to keep it, and that's something I learned 37 years ago. And I've tried to live with that ever since. We only got a couple minutes left here, but you kind of touched on something. Can you tell our audience, because we have new audience in Madison and Chicago all the time, just a little bit about your background as the first city council member? Can you just tell, so I don't get it wrong, the exact...
Yeah, so back in the year 2000, I ran for Minneapolis City Council. I was this kind of very gritty street level activist. I think people kind of thought I was a joke of a candidate, and I ended up getting elected to the Minneapolis City Council. I was the first tribal citizen ever elected to that body, or elected to any office actually in the city of Minneapolis. And there have been many now, 6, 7 to different offices. So that's progress. I served on the Minneapolis City Council for 12 years, for all of those years as council vice president. And I represented 2 different wards due to redistricting. But when I first got elected, Robert, I'll tell you, I think people kind of thought I was kind of a joke and would just sort of fall on my face. But I took it very seriously, and I worked, hard. I know that people like me didn't often get those opportunities to sit at tables like that. So I worked hard, and I think I had a good 12-year run, did a lot of stuff I was very, very proud of, and have come out of that experience in a completely different place than I thought, in a completely different trajectory in my life than I thought I would be on. But I'm very grateful for the experience and for the support that I had through those years.
Right. And that's just awesome. And that's some super street credit you have here with us, because I know I chased you around a bunch of times to come on our show, and now you're a mainstay. Now pretty soon you'll get a Native Roots Resist t-shirt and one of those.
You keep saying that, and I never got my t-shirt.
Well, next time you go to the store, let me know so I can
okay.
Hook you up, brother. Seriously.
Okay, I will do.
All right, do that. Hey, thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Stop at the powwow down at the Native American Center in Minneapolis for the sober powwow.
Right.
New Year's. See you there.
On the Red Road, the celebration of sobriety. Friday, Saturday night, grand entry at 7.
Right, grand entry at 7. Good to know. All right, we'll be back. Thank you so much, Peony Gigi, Robert Lilligren. We'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us. Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org. Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Ooh. Hey, I want to introduce my awesome and beautiful wife, Wendy. Wendy's been an animal advocate as long as I've known you, and probably a lot longer than that. And we do this sacred animal part that's been going on for 4 years that people love to hear. And a lot of it's heartbreaking. A lot of it's beautiful stories about our relatives with four legs and tails and hooves and wings and gills and all those, all our relatives. But we try to have a little levity once in a while, and I think that's what we're happening tonight, Wendy.
Yeah, well, we're going to pretend like today is Friday because it is actually our Friday, since tomorrow is New Year's Eve and we're off. So it'll be a fun fact Thursday instead of fun fact Friday. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. My name is Hanaji Hihani, which means cares for them, and I was given that name by my Dega, Curtis. And as always, Curtis, thank you. Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds.
That's a beautiful name.
It is a beautiful name.
Both of them.
Yeah, it really is. And I just want to, we were talking about people giving people a shout out. I want to give Sheila Lamb. She's a city council member of Cloquet, and she helped. She really worked hard with me to pass a humane pet store ordinance there in the city of Cloquet. So I want to thank Sheila Lamb for working on that with me and for presenting that to the city council members of Cloquet, and we got that ordinance passed. So yeah, I just want to give her a shout out. But we work with our local and state officials to pass humane laws for animals. That's what we do with the Humane Society of the United States. So it's funny, the last couple of Fridays I've been reading from the Popular Mechanics, believe it or not. It's an article. It was written by Emily Schiffer, and it's about the 40 most extreme animals on the planet, and these incredible creatures will do just about anything to survive. And we're on number 25, so I'm going to keep going with number 25, and we're going to talk about the great white sharks can sniff out blood from miles away. This doesn't necessarily help the stereotype that the great white sharks are cold-blooded killers, but they do have an insane ability to detect blood. They're able to sense blood from 3 miles away and can also identify a drop in 25-gallon bucket of water. Isn't that crazy?
What do they do with the
They could just sniff out the blood. They could smell it
does
from
that-
3 miles away.
So they want to chew on my leg, or
If your leg's bleeding, they will. 26. Honey badgers are resistant to venom. Honey badgers are known as one of the most vicious animals on the planet, and they pretty much hunt anything because they're able to resist venom, an evolutionary wrinkle resulting from their diet of venomous snakes. From bugs to birds, crocodiles, and pythons, they take them all on. And their evolved diet, they digest the entire animal, including bones and feathers. Now, if you look at a honey badger, it's just like a little animal. They're not really that big.
I was called a honey badger by an elder, and I don't know how to take that now after you just... I thought that was a good thing, but I don't think it is now.
Well, then you're known as one of the most vicious animals on the planet. I don't know. You could take it as a good thing, too, that you're, strong and you could stand up for yourself.
And eat meat.
Inland taipan snakes have the most potent venom. The inland taipan is the world's most venomous snake based on the potency of its venom. Its medium lethal dose for mice have been calculated at 0.025 milligrams per kilogram. It only hunts mammals, and its venom attacks the human nervous system, blood, muscles, and organs. I wouldn't want to get bit by that one, that's for sure.
I'm staying home.
Actually, I think this is where we left off, and I think I talked about those animals before, but that's okay. It's always good to get a refresher course on these incredible animals. It's fun. Maybe you'll have to answer a trivia question one of these days.
I'm paying attention.
This is a axolotl. Axolotls regenerate their body parts. These aquatic salamanders have one of the most incredible abilities of all animals on Earth. They can regenerate a missing limb, tail, spinal cord, parts of their brain, heart, and lower jaw, and other organs. Researchers are hoping to determine how they do it to use for human use. Because, if somebody loses their arm, it would be good to, regenerate it again.
Or paralyzed.
We did talk about that, like a spinal cord injury and how to get people to get that regenerated so that they could walk again. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I know that they're doing lots of research on that every day. So hopefully someday we'll be able to help people with that. Clownfish change genders. Clownfish experience what it's like to be each gender during their lifetimes.
Is that Nemo?
It is Nemo. They're all born male, but some turn into female, a process known as sequential hermaphroditism. Hermaphroditism.
Now you sound like me.
Both are born with both male and female parts, and some males make the transition if an alpha female dies. Hermaphroditism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes from like a
hermaphrodite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Word,
Peacock mantis shrimps throw the fastest punch. A peacock mantis shrimp, a relative of crabs and lobsters, throw a punch at 50 miles an hour, which is faster than a .22 caliber bullet. It uses its punch to impale soft-bodied prey like fish. And since it lives in an overcrowded and competitive rock crevices, researchers believe it developed its strength to outmaneuver other hunters. I wouldn't want to get punched by that.
Wow.
Yeah, these are really funny. They're tardigrades. So tardigrades are indestructible. These microscopic animals is the world's smallest animals, measuring in at 1.5 millimeters, but it's been found to survive in the most extreme conditions, including the bottom of the ocean and Mount Everest. Tardigrades are also the first animal to survive in space. Scientists believe it's due to the fact that they can survive extreme drying, going into a type of hibernation state before being rehydrated. And they're kind of Kind of creepy looking, if you ask me. Assassin bugs are deadly and fashionable. As if their name didn't give them away, assassin bugs of Malaysia are the ultimate predators. They're known to hunt ants, and when they turn the bodies of their victims' ecoskeletons into outerwear, they do this by liquefying and consuming the insides of the ants. Then they use their new armor to confuse future predators. So they actually wear their animals that they've eaten and spit out on their bodies. Isn't that gross?
Wasn't that movie with what movie was that?
I don't know what movie that was.
Mind. I'll have to think about that.
Happy New Year to everyone out there.
Yeah, I want to do something a little different here, Wendy. I want to say we're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated and boosted.
Right. And I want to give a special thanks to you. As always, we wouldn't be doing this and having so much fun together an hour a day here. And Ogama and all the people. I want to give a special shout out to David Knoyer, who's supported our show and given us encouragement over the years. Also, Curtis West Ardega. I want to give him a special shout out. And thank you for 4 great years.
Do yourself a favor and check out the amazing cuisine of eatlocalminnesota.com. More than just a website,